Guys, welcome back to Homeschooling Life. It's Lauren with you here again today. And today I'm going to share with you guys our group studies and our book basket. This is what we do as a family. And this year looks different than most years for us. Last year I shared our group book basket time, and there was a lot to it. There was a lot of components. We've kind of always done things that way, where we had, through the years, we'd grown to where we had a pretty long morning time, as we called it, and we would do a lot of our subjects during that time. We've always done history, science, and we would rotate those on different days. We would loop through different subjects like poetry and different things, geography. We would do all sorts of different subjects during that time, as well as our Bible. But now this year we have a little bit of a different schedule, and I'll probably get on here and do a video all about our schedule, but it looks a little bit different for us because we have 2 high schoolers this year, and their work is requiring a lot of their time, and it's requiring, because of the time constraints that we have a little bit with our son, my 9th grader, being in school athletics and being, especially right now during his football season, he has to be at the school at a certain time every day, which it is the afternoon, and I'm very thankful for that we're not having to stop in our morning and, take him to a practice or anything like that. It helps the day to flow a little bit better right now. And so that is our reality, and it'll probably be our reality for the next few years, whether that be early morning practices, which he does have morning workouts, but they're pretty early before our school day begins, and then afternoon or possibly afternoon practices as they get into the high school years. So we're jumping in now and talking about our morning time. That's what I'm trying to get to in this video. So we're changing it up and calling it group time this year because we have moved it from morning to afternoon. My kids all expressed, mostly this is for my high schoolers, but all my kids wanted to get their independent studies, their core work done in the morning. And so we are taking care of that by giving them all of that morning time to do their work. We usually start school about 8:30, and they work up until lunch on all their independent studies. And I work one-on-one with my younger ones during that time, and my older ones. If they need my help, I can stop and help them because we have a large chunk of time to do that. Then we have our lunch. They watch World Watch News, which would be part of our group studies. They do that during their lunch hour. That is a current events subscription that we pay for kids, news from a Christian worldview, non-biased. They just share different things that are going on around the world, and the kids watch that. It's about a 10-minute segment every day, and we pay for that. So that would be our first part of our group studies. I will backtrack just a little bit, and I'll share more about this, like I said, in my schedules video. But when we're not doing science together anymore. My olders are doing biology, high school biology together, and on Wednesdays they're getting together with Amanda's 2 older kids, and they're doing their labs and science or experiments and just all of that. So our younger ones this year are doing science separately. So actually my younger ones, we do science together right before lunch. That 11:20, 11:30 time is usually when we start meeting for science. The big kids do their biology during the morning. They don't do their daily readings together. They do those separately. And then my younger ones are doing a science, and I will show you that really quickly. I've got stuff all around me, guys, but this is the science that we're starting the year with. Because the older kids are doing biology, we decided to do The Good and the Beautiful's Kingdoms and Classifications, and that is just a unit study. It is, I buy the PDF and it's, I have it on my computer, and I pull up the lessons, and then there's student sheets and different things like that I just print off. You can buy the physical copies, but I usually just do the PDFs, and I have them on my computer. And so we are doing this because it goes along with the biology with the kids. Like I said, we're about 5 chapters in, 5 lessons in, and I think there's anywhere from like 10 to 12. Each unit from The Good and the Beautiful ranges with a different, amount of time that their units last. So they, this one I think is around 10 to 12. I would have to look at my computer, but we're doing kingdoms and classifications. We will pick another one. I know one of ours we're probably going to do this year is weather and water. We may do botany because that kind of goes along with biology. Anyway, we just kind of pick as we go and what we want to do. So that's a group subject for my younger 3. And we meet once a week at co-op, and they'll do a lesson together on those days or do some experiments or different things that go along with these units that Amanda and we both do at the same time. So that's our science. That would be a group subject. The next group subject, and I shared a little bit about this in my high schoolers video, is world history. We are using the Master Books World History, their high school course, for my older ones, but Amanda's kids had expressed to her that they did not want to do this on their own. They wanted to be a family group study still, and that they would, she would teach it to them. So we're doing the same thing. I love teaching history, so giving up history, my plan was to, my older ones would read this separately, and then my younger ones would do whatever kind of correlated with this study separately. But I realized there was really no reason to do that. So right after lunch, when we're back together, we gather for group time, this is our time to also do our history. And so we get together and I just plan this out every week, and I look at the chapter of what we're studying. Like it was Nebuchadnezzar, it was our last one. We're walking through it starts in ancient and goes all the way up until kind of early modern. I think it makes it through the World Wars and the Cold War maybe, which we did study this year. It's kind of a fast-paced track through history. So that's what we're studying. And the text in here is okay. It's short, it's sweet, it's concise. It's good for a high schooler. You can go a little bit deeper with some of their prompts, and they really put a focus on worldview and studying that. And so we will do that. And then my older ones will also do the worksheets that go along. They give you like assignment sheets, worksheets. I don't require this from my younger ones, but they will do this. But during this time, we also will expand on this history. And I pull from, depending on what we're studying, I pull from the story of the world that we use these. I had the ancient one here. This is the, you see I thrifted this book. This is the second one. No, this is the 4th one. So I grabbed it, but we have all 4 volumes. So I would pull from the ancient one is what I've been doing. And I guess I forgot to grab that one and bring it with me. I did. So we also pull from Mystery of History. I have the Mystery of History volumes. I think I have 1, 2, and 3. I do not have the 4th one. So we will use this as well. The readings are short usually when we're discussing a certain person in history or a certain event that's happening. So, and they have good prompts and things for the kids to activities and things. And some of these we do at co-op, but we also use notebooks. And all of my kids have these notebooks, and we call these are our group time notebooks. It's our history notebook, our science notebook, and the kids do note-taking or notebooking in these. So we have some stuff in here from last year that they had jumped into a new book, and this is where we finished the year out. But they're just taking notes. This is my 6th graders book, yes. So this was from last year when we studied anatomy. I'll jump to, he did. And they're just taking notes, they're coloring, they're drawing about what we're studying. This was a, respiratory system when we did human. Okay, so here we're jumping into, this is where he began with organisms and our classification of living things study. He's just taking notes. My little one, he's drawing a picture. They drew a living organism. I said anything they wanted to do. So he did a chicken, and we took some of the student sheet stuff from The Good and the Beautiful and broke down cells and how each thing has a cell. And then here's some notes he took for history when we were studying Mesopotamian religions. Here's a map they drew. I hope you can see this, but this is, here was a cell that he colored, and he did some Good and the Beautiful. just more notes. This was something out of Our Good and the Beautiful. This is from our history. This was the Epic of Gilgamesh. We read that and they took some notes. And anyway, this is just what we're using this year. And then it's also like art. That was for science and art. And they chose football helmets and made their own team. So they're doing their art in here too. So all of my kids have one of these. And when we sit down to do science and we sit down to do history, we grab these and they do note taking while we're doing our study. And that is how we're doing history as a group, as a family. And so lastly, and so from there, we also are doing just a few random things that are sprinkled into what I call our group time. And like I said, we've always done Bible through the years, and every day in the morning early, the kids are doing their own personal Bible time studies. But when we get together as a group, this is the time that we usually try every day to sing a hymn. We've in the past always done like a hymn of the month, and I think in September we're going to pick that back up. For the month of August, these first few weeks of school, we've been just talking about or reviewing different hymns that we have learned already. And so my kids have notebooks like this also that they keep a lot of their papers and all that in. They have tabs, but in the front they also have, these are hymns that we have copies of in their little book that we've learned. And so we're just going through and reviewing different ones. Every day we're singing a hymn through at least once, if not two, but usually it's one because like I said, we're more limited on time. So we're reviewing one, and as we go into the next, if we're learning a new one, we'll probably sing that most days, and then maybe once a week review a hymn. And then we also do scripture memory. We're just doing one memory section. I've used the fighter verses in the past, and that's what we're using still. We're just working our way very slowly through those. Sometimes it takes us longer than a week to memorize them, but we have a new verse. The fighter verses are from John Piper's ministry, and there's an app on my phone. I printed off their sets of verses off one of their websites years ago. I can probably find a link for that. And then, so the kids have some printing. I might have just printed these. I think I found this, but there's like sets of fighter verses, ones we've done through the years. Usually I write it on our board in our schoolroom. If we sit in there for group time, we'll just look at that. And we go over our verse, and then we'll go over a few catechism questions. We've done the New City Catechism for years, and so we're just very slowly working our way through that, and we just review or learn a new one on the weekly. New City Catechism has a book. I do not own it. I have them printed out, and they have them in their binder as well, but I use the app. And there are also songs, I think, on YouTube, and there's a child's version and an adult version. We've always done the adult version, but for my younger one, I have pulled and kind of condensed them with some of the child's version, and that's all in the app if you want to use that. So that's kind of our daily part. Like I said, we're doing our devotionals separately, and or studies. My kids are all doing different Bible studies, and I sit down and do a devotional with my youngest every morning as part of his school. He reads one. He has one he reads too on his own, but we'll study and talk about it. And then we're doing hymn, scripture memory, and the catechism every day. Just it takes 5-10 minutes tops to do all of this. And usually with the hymn, sometimes I'll even pull it up on YouTube and we'll listen to it. So that is what we're doing right now. I do not have an ongoing. We've done devotionals during this time in the past. We haven't started one or doing one. We are reading through the Bible as a family in the evenings, or at our dinner table a lot of times, depending on what works best. So we're already coming back together and reading scripture together every day. So that is what we're doing for that. But this year I decided to use this book. We're going to work our way through this book. It's called It Couldn't Just Happen by Lawrence Richards, and it is apologetics. It's just talking about, did Earth begin with the Big Bang, cosmic explosion? Does science contradict the Bible? What happened to the dinosaurs? Did we evolve from apes? So this is just an apologetics book, and it's kind of scientific. So we are just slowly working our way. We've started it. We're in the second chapter, I believe, this week, and we'll read a little bit out of this a few days a week is the plan. So this would be kind of it's biblical in its worldview, so I would consider it like a Bible study in that sense, but it's apologetics, and that is what we're working through this year. And then, depending on the day and the amount of time we have, and I'm trying to condense our history down to where I was going to do it every day in our group time, but I think because of the size of the chapters and stuff, we're able to do history more like 2 days a week, and then one day at co-op we'll have that. So the other 2 days I can pull in a little bit more, 2 to 3 depending on what we do, but pull in a little bit more. So one thing I'm adding to, and I was just with our hymns, I have a hymnal here too that I pull from. This is my morning basket down here. I've talked about this last year. But we're pulling from Our Mother Tongue. This is just a book on grammar, English grammar, and it just walks you through it, and it's kind of like a classroom. It's by Nancy Wilson. It was for a classical school, I believe. And so it just works slowly through the different things, nouns, verbs, adverbs, adjectives, and it does like a little like break down a sentence or two every day. And so this is just something I thought everybody, as we come together slowly, we can work our way through this. It might take us a couple years to get through this, but I think this is a good thing, and everybody's kind of understanding the definitions and those things. And then once a week, I'm also working our way through geography. We're doing geography with our history. We haven't really got going with our geography. Last year we did in our notebooks, we would do the states because we were doing American history. So we would do a state. And so I plan to kind of pull that back in a little bit, whether that be some countries and some continents. We also own these books from, this is the older copies that they had, and by Anne Vonskamp. I think they've updated them. A Child's Geography. We have the Holy Land one too. So it goes through some countries. This is volume 2. If I remember, like the Middle East. So yeah, Turkey, Israel, Egypt, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan. So this is like where we're at in ancient history. So we usually pull this in. We'll watch a few videos about that particular country, and then we will, do some drawing and map drawing, which we did our map drawing you saw of like Mesopotamia. So that is, I will pull geography in. It's included in our history, but more once or twice a week possibly. And the history, like I said, the grammar and the geography are our looping things. Some other things that I would like to do that's in here is art once a week. My little kids, the other day, we just sat down. The older ones didn't join us this time, and we just did a quick drawing art day. Some days we actually did read out of this about one of the artists and showed one of his pictures, and we may do some of these art studies. This is for Discovering Great Artists by Bright Ideas for Learning, and it has some projects along with talking about different artists in this book. So that is something that I will pull from, and that might be something where my big kids are gone and I'm just doing with my little ones. I'm not sure yet. So I just have a lot of resource books for world history, maps, different things like that. My olders are doing Spanish, so I thought if my little ones and I wanted to do some Spanish, we have this easy dictionary here. And one thing, and that we're reading through, we may be reading through, like I had the apologetics thing, some Aesop's fables. This would be, an extra that we add in as a quick reading. Just lots of different fun books that I just like to pull from. Sometimes it's poetry, sometimes it's a read aloud, sometimes it's a hymn study. I've talked about this in the past, we have our hymn study books and we read through them as well. So, and if we have time, this may be more in the evenings. We started this, The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. So we might do a read aloud during this time. My kids are all reading individually. I have a time set aside after my son goes to athletics that I can read to my younger ones a read aloud during that time. And the last thing we are doing is classical conversations. I'm not doing this with my older ones every day. They do hear it, but their cycle 1 memory work, we just pull it up. I have the foundations guide, but we just pull it up on YouTube. They have the videos on there, and I can link those below, and they have like music to every week's different memory work. And so we will pull that up and watch the videos. We slowed down. I was starting one a week, but we might do one every 2 weeks just to make it stretch a little bit longer sometimes and stay in where we're at in history. But that's what we're doing. I'm not requiring complete memorization, but my youngers did this, and I just think, my older kids did this. So I really want my younger ones to like learn all the skip counting songs, hear the history and the science. We do skip the Latin because we don't do Latin. So that is probably the last thing that's in our group time. And like I said, sounds like a lot, but like we're not doing all this every day. We're for sure doing our Bible and our history most days. And like I said, like sprinkling in geography, grammar, the memory work, the apologetics book, things like that. Those are just happening randomly. My goal is to not spend more than an hour at the most doing all of this. And so that is what our group time and our morning basket looks like this year, afternoon basket. And so it's looking differently, and that's okay. That's what's working for this year for us. And I hope this was encouraging to you. I hope this was informative, and let me know how you do your morning time or your group time, and share some of the resources that you use. We're so happy to have you here. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and come back and join us here. Subscribe to our channel. We would love to have you join us here at this community. We will see you guys later. Bye.